Welcome to a special edition of Live from My Office, the After School edition. On your screen, if you're watching on our YouTube channel, that's my friend Bill Leff. Hi, Bill.
Steve, how are you?
It's great to see you.
It's great to see you and your background.
I hope, thank you very much. Go to the YouTube channel. It's Live from My Office if you want to see my background. I know it sounds personal, but people have always complimented me on my background.
Spectacular.
But you and I never see enough of you, and I tell people this all the time. You always make me wish we had more time together. But if we had more time, together, maybe I wouldn't feel that way.
No, that's true.
So, but let's catch people up on what you're doing before we tell them why you're here. You are the king of morning TV. Tell them when you're on.
All right. So I have 3 shows on currently, Steve. And if I can get one TV show, that means everybody in the world could get their own TV show. So if you haven't had your own TV show yet, please go into your local office and tell them you want your own show.
Your time is coming.
I'm on Tune In With Me, where I play the role of Bill the Cartoon Curator. We show old cartoons, you know, the old Looney Tunes cartoons from
the best.
They're the best. That's when animation was the best. So we show that, and that's on Monday through Friday, 6 to 7 a.m. in Central Time, but it varies depending on where you live.
But that's nationwide. And because of that, you're unable to leave your house.
I cannot leave the house. It's gotten so crazy. And then I'm also on a show called Svengoolie that's been on the air for 45 years.
How about that?
I play a character named Nostalgia Ferratu, who's an 800-year-old vampire. And that's a fun show. And that's on every Saturday night. Consult your local listings. And then once a month, we do a spin-off show called The Sven Squad, where I play the same character. And it's just a love fest.
All right. Now, tune in with me. You ended up at Comic-Con.
Yeah.
What was that like?
You know, when you do, I've heard people say this when they're on television shows, and I never believed it. But when you do a show, you're just kind of grinding it out every day. You're hoping to put out the best product you can. You don't know who's watching or what their thoughts are. And then all of a sudden, there's a line of people at Comic-Con that tell you their favorite line, their favorite character, their favorite episode. And it's fantastic.
That's very cool.
It's really nice. It's really nice.
And did you have real groupies or animated groupies?
Animated groupies.
Okay. All right. The Japanese animators, I assume, helped with that?
They would chase after me at Comic-Con, and then we'd come to a cliff, and they'd jump like just a few feet past the cliff, and then they'd look down, and then they'd slowly go down. It was fun.
The show is great. The show's absolutely great. And I remember when you told me initially the time slot, I knew it was nationwide, but I'm thinking, who's up at that hour watching cartoons? Yeah. Everybody. And the thing is, here's the thing. I think more than ever now, because people don't want to watch the news. Nice segue, Steve. This is called anything but politics, because it all feels like bad news.
Yeah, it does, doesn't it?
What a great escape to be able to see your childhood again.
It is.
Or maybe enjoy the stuff for the first time with your kids.
So when they came up with the idea, they wanted it to look like the shows we all grew up with, where you had a central guy and he was surrounded by sidekicks and puppets and stuff like that, special guests. So we tried that out and everybody was buying it. So we just made it bigger and better. The response has been tremendous.
How many years now?
Season 5. This is season 5. Yeah, we've done nearly 1,000 episodes already. We're at 920 something episodes, which is pretty good.
And when you get to 1,000, since the tuna is your sidekick.
Yeah.
Any special party plans of any kind? What do you do with a tuna?
This is between you and me, Steve. Nobody knows this, but I've already started a confetti cake. A funfetti. Have you ever seen these funfetti cakes?
Sure.
I got one started. It's in the oven now.
You don't want me to
Can I ask a huge favor of you?
Sure.
I know that the show is called Anything But Politics.
Yeah.
But can I just say one political thing and then we don't have to talk about it at all?
Sure, because we haven't technically started the content part yet. So please feel free. Here's Bill Leff with one statement.
I thought Calvin Coolidge did a pretty good job. Didn't you?
Nobody's going to argue with you. And I think you know this about me. I'm such a nerd about presidential history. I'm old enough to remember. Yeah. I'm old enough to remember when presidents were there to do the job and try their best, right? But Calvin Coolidge had a thing.
Silent Cal.
Silent Cal had a thing where every morning he would have one of the workers in the White House rub his head with Vaseline. Are you aware of that?
That's right.
Well, you knew that because he's your favorite president.
He's my favorite president, and he's my favorite president for an odd reason. Can I tell you why?
Of course.
Of all the presidents that we've had thus far, his name is the closest to Kool-Aid.
You're not wrong. You're not wrong. You're
I
not
know
wrong.
that.
Here's a crazy segue for you. Kool-Aid tastes exactly like grape Powerade from my adulthood to my childhood.
Yeah, it sure does, doesn't it?
Yeah.
That's not by accident.
No, it's not. That's how they get you.
Now, when I go out on a limb and I talk about my love for Calvin Coolidge, don't think that Grover Cleveland is out of the picture because he's not. I thought he did a bang up job as well, and I think someday there's going to be a city named after him.
So there's your depth chart.
Yeah,
Yeah. Well, as you know, Alexander Hamilton was a pretty good-sized hit on Broadway.
yeah, it was. He wasn't a president though.
He was not a president. However, this man was, and I'm still working on, the guy I was working on this with lost his mind, but I was working on a musical called Millard.
Millard.
Millard, Millard. And Millard, of course, refers to?
Millard Fillmore.
Millard Fillmore. That's exactly right.
Yeah, one of our bravest presidents, I always thought.
And I grew up in an area in upstate New York, central New York, that was close to where Millard Fillmore was from. And he had a park, the Millard Fillmore State Park.
Yep, a well-deserved park. Do you know why I consider Millard Fillmore to be one of our bravest presidents, Steve?
I don't.
Several times during Millard Fillmore's lifetime, he heard a noise late at night, and his wife, Dottie Fillmore, would say, "What is that noise?" And Millard Fillmore would go, "I got this, Dottie." And he'd go and he'd look around the house and make sure everything was tight. Then he'd come back. He did that like a half a dozen times.
Oh, I did not even know that.
Yeah, he's very brave.
I don't know about you, but I've reached a point in my life where, and you've been to my massive estate many times.
It's incredible.
But I reached a point in my life where if somebody breaks into my house,
Yeah.
they can have anything they want on the lower level.
Oh, that's nice of you.
Right. But if they're coming upstairs, I'm going to beat them. I'm going to beat them to death. I will only defend the upstairs because it hurts my knee too much to go downstairs.
Please tell me you have a sign posted that says all this.
I do. Some people have beware of dog. I have beware of guy upstairs. Take anything you want downstairs.
Take anything you want on the lower level, but once you ascend, then you got a problem.
All right, now, you mentioned your character with our friend Sven Gulli.
Yes.
The character's name again?
Nostalgia Ferratu.
All right, Nostalgia Ferratu appears on the big Saturday night shindig, I'm sure.
Yeah.
And also, when is the second time you'll see Nostalgia Ferratu?
Once a month, they do a Svengoolie double feature. So it's Svengoolie's episode first, and then the Sven Squad, which is myself and two of my cohorts, we host the show for the second movie. So it's like I'm doing 3 shows over there. It's amazing.
And is there a social media page, a website or something where you get all the information? But you don't know what it is, do you?
They won't tell me.
Yeah, check your local listings.
They will not tell me.
All right, so you and I are both fans of caps, hats, if you will.
I'm wearing one right now, and you're wearing one right now.
Now, I want you to see mine because you're going to get one of these. This is the official Survive 2025 cap.
That's a pretty handsome hat.
And we're selling these on my website, and all the money goes to me. It's survive2025.us. But we have T-shirts, and these came out pretty well as well. You remember our friend Mark Doyle from Rags of Honor?
I sure do. He's a nice man.
He's an amazing guy, and his company printed these.
Those are handsome shirts.
Survive 2025 from the Live from My Office folks. The whole point is, Bill, it doesn't have to be a political argument, but I'm offering 100% cotton therapy. And whether it's climate change, family problems, whatever is troubling you this year, trip to the dentist, Survive 2025. We got to pull together.
That's fantastic. You know what's nice about a shirt like that one, Steve? You can wear that anywhere.
Yes, you can.
You can wear that if you got let's say you have a friendly volleyball game, you could wear that. Later on, you got something a little more dressy, you could wear it to there. That's a great shirt. and also, I'm a slave to fashion. You know that. We initially met on the runways of Paris. Yes, we did.
And by that, I mean the airport.
Yes, we did.
And this, of course, is a National Comedy Center pullover, swatshirt, if you will. Very slimming, as you can tell.
Yeah.
But the National Comedy Center is the National Comedy Hall of Fame.
Didn't know that.
Yeah. In Jamestown, New York, southern tier of New York.
Is that the hometown of Lucille Ball?
That's exactly right.
It is, right?
Yep, that's exactly right. And this little town has this amazing Cooperstown Hall of Fame for comedy.
Yeah.
So I'm highly recommending it if you get a chance to go.
You've been out there a couple of times?
I have. Yeah, I have.
It's
love great.
To. Next time
phenomenal.
You go, will you wake me up and I'll come with you?
I will, except you always want to keep the covers on as long as you can. No, but you really would enjoy it. You really would.
I would love to go see that.
We should road trip. All right, the premise here is simple.
Yes.
Premise here is simple. I have 5 stories.
Yeah.
I will give you the headlines for the 5 stories. You'll determine the order of the stories as we go through them.
All right.
On the regular Live from My Office podcast, which drops, as the kids say, late in the week,
Yeah.
we'll talk to major political people. I'll dump on, the guy with the orange hair and tell you the truth about everything. But This is because everybody needs a break. This is anything but politics.
I like that premise.
So these are news stories. These are news stories, Bill, that are
not political.
And nobody's talking about them. Nobody's talking about them.
That's their loss.
All right, so I'm going to give you a series of choices here. Choices. Right. Your choices are, look out! That's number 1.
Yikes.
What's for dinner? That's number 2.
Could you tell me the first one again, Steve?
Look out! Yeah.
Did you see what I did? I recoiled.
Yeah, I think there's some good acting going on by both of us for you YouTube watchers. The good old days weren't that good. That's choice 3.
Oh, right.
Albuquerque is choice 4. And tennis biggest jerks is choice 5. Now, you're a big tennis guy. You always have been. You love tennis. You play almost every day. Yeah. And I found a tennis category that I think we could knock around a little bit. So of those 5, which would you like to start with?
9 times out of 10, Steve, I'm going with your tennis topic. But Lookout has made my blood curdle. So I'm going to go with Lookout.
Lookout is all about driving. And Lookout, now you've had a considerable commute to work for years, as have I.
Sure, I have. Yeah.
I can't say my commute's difficult now since
I live in Baltimore, Maryland, and we shoot the show in Chicago, and I drive back and forth every day.
It's just the way you give. But my commute now isn't that long because I work out of my house. But for years, I drove back and forth to the city of Chicago. I had a 100-mile round trip every day. So these are bizarre things people do while they're driving. I'd like to tell you, you tell me, and I'll tell you. Have you ever seen anybody doing these? Playing a musical instrument.
I have seen that.
So have I.
What did you see?
A Moog synthesizer. No, that can't be right. What I saw was a saxophone, which was pretty amazing to me because that's not a one-handed instrument.
No, you need 2 hands. To correctly play the saxophone, you want to use 2 hands.
So I was fascinated, and because I played the saxophone as a wee boy.
Yeah.
Right up until the time I was in 2nd grade, when my music teacher put me in a music closet to rehearse while she was on the only phone. She was a teacher with a phone in her room. And forgot I was in there and left, and I was locked in the music closet. And I played Mary Had a Little Lamb over and over again for 45 minutes to an hour before she came in and rescued me.
That seems horrible.
Kind of ruined the whole saxophone thing for me. I could have been Kenny G.
You can still be Kenny G.
Now, what did you see? What instrument did you see?
I saw a trumpet, which is much more manageable. And it looked like, I'm not the kind of person that can just look at an instrument and know what song it's playing just by the look. But it looked like he was doing some Boyz II Men song.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. Well, you know what? You're probably right. You're probably right. What about this one? Stopping to pet the wildlife. Let me give you a bit of an explanation. A guy is driving along the Colorado highway system, if you will, and there's an elk next to the road. He pulls over to reach out and pet the elk. The elk then jumps up and stomps on the hood of his car and runs away. So I've never seen, and by the way, petting the elk sounds like code. I've never seen anyone petting the elk while they drive.
You've seen videos, though, I'm sure, on the YouTube of, like, it's a family and they're driving down a country road, and like a water buffalo or something will come at them, and they'll slow down and they'll get out of the car and they'll take pictures and stuff. I don't know if it's a great idea.
No, those people deserve to be trampled.
Whatever they get, they get.
Are you a fan of the ocean?
I like the ocean very much.
We talked at the top about home invasions and how I only defend the top half of my house.
Yeah.
I believe if you're going into the water and a shark eats you, shark's house.
You're on his territory.
Yeah.
But if you're swimming in the swimming pool and a shark bites you, that's on them.
Fair point.
All right.
Fair point.
We've all had that happen.
Now, we've all seen this, right? Using a laptop and doing homework while you drive?
Mm-hmm.
No, I mean, it's extremely dangerous. How about shaving? Have you ever seen anyone shave?
Can I go back to the last one for a second?
Oh,
On several occasions, I've seen people watching a movie while driving. They'll hold up their computer and watch, whatever movie you wanted to name. And I don't know that it's that safe, Steve. It's not my place to tell them it's not, but it's not.
I probably should remind people that you and I live in Chicago, in the greater Chicago area.
Right.
And traffic is bad here, as you would guess.
Yeah.
but you still shouldn't be watching movies while you sit in traffic.
Not while you drive.
Yeah. So,
No.
What about shaving?
I have seen people shave while driving.
Have you ever seen anyone shave their legs?
No.
I have. I
Was
saw.
it a guy or a girl?
Well, it was a woman, and I saw a woman with her leg up on her dashboard while she was driving with her left hand, shaving with her right hand.
Now, can I ask you a question?
Certainly.
And I ask you this: you've probably been shaving, Steve. I'm going to guess for decades, right?
Yeah. This actually grew since we started.
You didn't have any of that when we started this podcast today.
No, that's the kind of man I am.
All right. So for years, I just used a safety razor. That's how I shaved.
Okay.
And then, as you can see, I stopped doing that. But you still want to keep things trim. I'm not from Battle of the Lord of the Rings or something like that. I don't want a giant beard. So I went to an electric shaver, and its hair just flies out all over the place.
Yeah, it does.
So how does a guy drive and use an electric shaver on him without hair everywhere?
Yeah, and there's hair follicles all over the car. I mean,
everywhere.
It's a crime scene is what it is.
Yes, it is.
But yeah, I totally agree with you.
Yeah.
But the woman with her leg up while she was shaving, I didn't know whether to report her to the police or applaud. I mean, I was quite surprised.
Was it, as the kids like to say, sexy?
It was fascinating.
I
wouldn't call it sexy so much.
Not sexy, but fascinating.
It was fascinating.
Yeah.
This one's a little old reference-wise, but you could apply it to other things. Reading the newspaper.
Oh, yeah.
Or looking at your bills or looking at a magazine. Yeah. Have you seen that?
I've seen that many times. Yeah.
Now, I'll tell you another place you don't want to do that is on a treadmill at a health club.
Oh, that's true, isn't it?
Yeah. You go back 30 or so years. I was on here in Minneapolis, KDWB, big station, and I was friendly with one of our senators. And he worked out at the same club I worked out at. Yes, I did. I worked out.
All right.
And as I walked in, the Senator Rudy Boschwitz, he was reading the newspaper and he had it propped up in the front of the treadmill and he was kind of doing a little trot. He was an older fella.
Yeah.
Which is a rule in the Senate, apparently. Now they all have to be at least 100. Oh, that was politics, wasn't it? I can't talk about politics. Sorry.
You can't talk. No.
But anyway, he waved to me and the paper fell onto the treadmill, tripping him up, and he face planted into the control panel. Yeah.
That could have been avoided.
Yeah. And also, I did 10 years for that. Trying to kill a senator.
You did hard time for that?
Yeah, trying to kill a senator.
That shouldn't be. Steve, here's my quick question as we talk about these things that people are doing while they're driving. Why the need to do more than one thing? Like forever, when you were driving a car, the focus was on the safety of driving that vehicle, and now that's secondary or even beyond.
Yeah, well, I have to say, I don't know about your parents, but my parents, in particular my father, would multitask, but his second task would be smoking nonstop.
Oh.
Yeah, he would smoke nonstop. As a matter of fact, to the point where he would light one up with the one he was finishing, and he never didn't have a cigarette. Now, in the old Ford Galaxy we were in, it could be a very cold winter's day with snow falling. I would crack the window a bit. And by crack the window, I mean roll it, an actual roll.
Sure.
This is the motion. You would roll the window down just a little bit. I'd open it just a crack, and he'd go, "What's the matter with you? Are you stupid? Get that window up." And then my brother and I would be in the back, and we would be smoked hams by the time we arrived at wherever we were going. But that was the multitasking. It's not like today. You make a good point. It's not like today.
Forever, the focus was on the road, and now that's the last thing people care about.
Let me give you one more of this. Things people do while they drive. Eating something that shouldn't be eaten while you're moving, period. And in this case, they reference spaghetti and meatballs.
Hard to pull off successfully whilst driving, I would imagine. For me, the one that I saw that I will never forget, I was doing a morning show at the time, so the roads were kind of light, and I came up even with a guy on the highway who took a container of nuts, assorted nuts, your cashews, your pecans, your peanuts, poured them on his shoulder, so he had a big shoulder full of nuts right here, and then as he was driving, he'd just reach over and take a nut from time to time.
I think I'd rather drive the hairmobile. What was falling on the ground in his car? Why couldn't he wait? Why couldn't he wait? That's exactly
We all
right.
enjoy a good nut, Steve, but there's a time and place for everything. You know that. We've talked about this.
This brings to mind a story. There's a famous sportscaster, a play-by-play guy who you and I both know, and a very likable guy, a guy that I like, and I know you like him as well. And I saw him after a game one night that he had just called as I was leaving the venue, eating soup while he was pulling out. This is hot soup. Eating soup while he was pulling out. Again, he went to wave to me and spilled the soup in his lap. Yeah.
And you had just gotten out of jail for the last infraction.
I did 5 years on that one.
5 more years tacked on.
Yeah. All right, so the remaining categories are...
Can I guess who the sportscaster is?
Yeah, go ahead.
Joe Garagiola?
You're close. It was Kurt Gowdy.
Oh, it was off by 1.
The good old days weren't that good. What's up, Doc? Tennis biggest jerks or what's for dinner?
Could you do the old days weren't all that good?
Happy to.
I just feel like that's got some magic on it.
You know where Clearwater Creek, Florida is, or Clearwater, Florida?
I sure do. Yes, I do.
Yeah, near Tampa on the Gulf side. And by the way, that's the Gulf of Mexico.
Yes, it is.
And Pittsburgh's Ohio River is another place this guy would be found. Using his kayak, he would go back and forth in his kayak and pick up tons and tons and tons of trash in the water. His social media handle, I don't know if it's still up, is Tommy Picks Up Trash, at Tommy Picks Up Trash. This guy gets no coverage. He's doing a great thing for the rest of us, and he's picking up trash.
That's a true American, Steve, if you ask me.
It's a good guy, and it's reminiscent again of thinking about the old days not being so good, because I remember, and I'm sure you do as well, when people would throw bags of trash out of the car while it was moving.
Yeah.
It was insane.
I don't understand it. Years ago, my wife and I lived in an apartment, and as I was leaving the apartment and walking down the street, I saw a guy take a Kentucky Fried Chicken bag out of his car and empty the contents on the street and then get in the car. And before he could leave, I stopped him and I go, I'm just curious, how did you think that was a good idea? He goes, I don't want it in my car. And I go, but we don't want it in our street. Why would you do that?
Right. And no answer, I'm sure.
No, I was the bad guy.
No, and the littering, the public littering that went on.
Yeah.
And I mean, as a kid, I felt terrible about it when I saw it. People would just throw stuff. People would bring garbage into their car and then throw it out. Bags of garbage.
You still see that with cigarettes a lot. People will flick a cigarette out of a car window without even thinking twice.
Yeah, so it needs to stop.
Yeah, it needs to stop, Steve.
I've done hard times, so don't mess with me on this. Social media handle again for this guy, Tommy Picks Up Trash, if you're so inclined.
He's a hero.
Tennis biggest jerks. What's up, Doc? Or what's for dinner? Well, what's up, Doc, by the way, that's a co-category with previously mentioned Albuquerque. So now you'll know who it is.
Oh, okay. I see what you're doing. I'm going to hold off on the tennis, which makes sense. I'm building up towards the tennis. Give me the what's up, Doc.
The great Mel Blanc, someone who you talk about professionally.
Man of 1,000 voices.
You probably talk about him every day, I would think.
Every day we talk about Mel Blanc.
I have some interesting facts about Mel Blanc, but give us a little background on Mel Blanc for people that don't know.
Mel Blanc was the guy, if you watched any cartoon between the 90s and the 1970s, it was Mel Blanc doing the voice. He just did everybody's voice, and he was so good at it.
And I understand he was a decent guy. What do we know about his backstory?
I don't know that much behind the scenes, but he seems like a kind enough fella.
To this
day,
say
the same of you.
To this day, at his gravestone, people leave Looney Tunes and characters, stuffed
Trinkets.
Animals, and the sorts all the time. All the time.
Yep.
Is it Looney Tunes? Why am I spacing on that? Yeah.
Warner Brothers cartoons.
Yeah, right. They own Looney Tunes, didn't they?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, okay. A man of 1,000 voices. He died back in 1989. And one of my prized possessions for years was a cartoon still, an original animation still, of Bugs Bunny and the regulars standing around his tombstone after he died.
Nice. Yeah. I've seen that picture. It's nice.
Yeah, I don't know where it is.
I'll find it.
Yeah, that's what happens when you get fired and move a lot. I did not know this. You probably did. You're a serial fan.
Yeah.
Did you know Mel Blanc was the original voice of Toucan Sam?
No, I did not know that.
Oh, that's amazing. I've never stumped you about anything related to the time we grew up in.
I didn't know any part of that, Steve, and I'm embarrassed. Should I leave or should I stay?
No, you're fine. The man of 1,000 voices known best for which one?
Bugs Bunny.
Without a question. And the Albuquerque reference I brought up was there are certain words in comedy that are funny.
Yeah.
And for whatever reason, whether to entertain themselves or because it was just funny, they worked Albuquerque in to Bugs as much as possible because he was always trying to get to Albuquerque, right?
The belief is that the K sound, when you're spouting out dialogue in comedies, the K sound is funny enough to trigger your brain. So yeah, I'll see you in Albuquerque. Yeah, that was in there a lot.
Sure. And it's also makes me think of Johnny Carson and his Movie Time character.
Art Fern?
Yeah, Art Fern, where he would smack his pointer on the desk as he was talking about things, and he would show traffic on how to get to wherever he was taking people to. And he would say, when you get to the Slauson cut off your Slauson.
When you get to the Slauson, cut off your Slauson.
I mean, that is Albuquerque in just
That's
a different
good stuff.
a different kind of way. Did you know that Mel Blanc had several serious health issues, and at one point was asked to do a Flintstones episode from his hospital bed?
There are pictures of Mr. Blank in his hospital bed doing those episodes, and you can't help but feel very, very sorry for him, because in most cases they would have postponed it until he was better, but they decided there was a deadline, so they needed to shoot it right then and there.
And he was the guy, right? I mean, if he calls in sick, nobody works.
He did everybody's voice, so there was no way around it. And it's always sad, when you lose a giant like that, like for a while, Mel Blanc's son Noel took over for him, and the essence was there, but it wasn't Mel Blanc. So they went with a bunch of different voice actors after him.
Well, you think about it. It's, a psychological study forever about sons trying to separate themselves from their fathers and go their own way.
Yep.
If you're Mel Blanc's kid,
what do you do?
You're Tom Brady's son. You're Mel Blanc's son.
Yeah.
It's not. You're not going to be lighting up parties like Dad did.
It's not easy.
Do you know? I'm curious about this. Do you know if he died with any money? Because I don't know that. Would he have been paid well? Like the Simpsons voices,
right?
They're all multi-millionaires.
I know he lived in a pretty nice house. I've seen pictures of the Blanc house. Sounds like a match.
Assuming it was
question.
white. Yeah.
So I don't think he lived in squalor, but I don't think he got paid anywhere near what your voice artists get paid today.
So the Simpsons characters, Dan Castellaneta in particular.
Yeah.
We're talking about 5, 10, 15 million a season, right?
Well, somewhere in that neighborhood, I would imagine. Yeah.
Yeah, which is crazy.
They've done all right for themselves.
Outside of being Flo from Progressive, is that the best job in show business?
It's Flo from Progressive and then the Simpsons people, yeah.
But did you know the legend of Mel Blanc not liking vegetables? And of course,
I did.
The reference here is Bugs Bunny and his carrots.
Oh, that's right. I didn't know that.
Right.
Wow, Steve, you know some stuff.
Well, I did some research here for you.
I guess so.
To be in character, Mel tried to chomp on carrots to get him in that method when it comes to cartoons. And at several times, he became sick to the point of wanting to throw up, and he had to stop. He ate vegetables. Rarely, he was not a fan.
Who's the sportscaster who claims to have never had a vegetable?
Well, Al Michaels.
Al Michaels, right.
Yeah, Al Michaels, who is 75, probably closer to 80.
And he's in great shape.
Great shape, revels in the fact that he never has eaten vegetables.
Yeah, good for him.
Yeah.
I don't like them either.
Well, you'll eat them, though.
I'll eat them if I have to.
You remember what George H.W. Bush said, and this is not a political comment. He said, I'm president of the United States. If I don't want to eat broccoli, I'm not going to eat broccoli.
I think once you achieve that office, it's up to you as to whether or not you want to have broccoli or not.
Before we go down that road, we continue with Mel Blanc. He asked a representative of the California DMV for special license plates, KMIT. It turns out that story was completely made up. Somebody thought it was related to Kermit the Frog, a show he was not involved with.
Right.
And it just turns out somebody gave him that.
I do know, and if this is on your list, tell me and I won't blow it, but do you know what it says on his tombstone?
I don't.
That's all, folks.
Oh, that's fantastic.
You can't get better than that.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Yeah. There's another rumor about that plate I mentioned that it meant Kiss mir ein Tukas, which in Yiddish means kiss my ass.
Kiss my butt.
Yeah, exactly right. Anything else about Mel Blanc we should know?
I know he was the king of Norway from 1981 to 1986.
Well, see, now you sell yourself short. You're bringing it now.
Well, it's not something he was proud of.
The remaining categories are what's for dinner, tennis biggest jerks, and we go to Bill for a choice.
I'm saving tennis for last, so go with what's for dinner.
I don't know this about you. Are you a cook?
No.
So what do you and Terry, your lovely wife, do for dinner most nights?
Almost every night we either eat out in a restaurant or we do carry out.
Same way with Maureen and me.
So neither of you enjoy cooking, do you? And it doesn't turn out great?
No, the part I enjoy the least is the cleanup. So
yeah, the cleanup's awful.
Thanksgiving, what I'll do is when I arrive at someone's home, if we're not hosting, is I'll go into the kitchen, do my circle of hugs and things, and then immediately break something.
Oh, so that's smart.
So I leave the kitchen.
You do that every time?
Yeah, exactly right. But I found with a minimal amount of research 3 recipes you and I may want to try.
Oh, all right. I'm listening.
These are recipes online. And again, if you're not watching on our YouTube channel, you should. And again, that is live from my office. But if you're not watching, I'll try to explain these as much as I possibly can.
All right.
Hot Dr. Pepper.
I'm going to guess you put some Dr. Pepper in some sort of a saucepan and you heat it up.
That's the entire recipe. You can go regular or diet Dr. Pepper in a saucepan until it's steaming. You pour it over lemon slices and enjoy.
Try that. I don't know how it would taste, but I'd be interested in trying that.
Here's one I don't think you are going to try. And I want to make sure I get the title right about this because there may be charges involved. But this is a recipe for, it involves...
Hot Dr. Pepper?
No, it's a candle recipe. It's a pineapple banana candle. Now, this picture won't do it justice.
Let's see. Oh, that doesn't look bad.
Yeah, but you can't tell what we're really dealing with there.
But are you going to eat that or drink that?
What we have, Bill, is a bed of lettuce.
Yeah.
And on the bed of lettuce, you spread cottage cheese. On top of the cottage cheese, you put a pineapple ring. And in the pineapple ring, in the center of the pineapple ring, this is where it gets troubling, you stuff a banana. So you have a banana coming out of the pineapple ring covered in cottage cheese, and then you top it off with a maraschino cherry.
Why would you do that?
I think the word there that makes sense would be why, because I would ask why. Just why. That's what the recipe should be called. Why?
Why?
Yeah, why?
You got pineapple rings. You're good. You don't need to mess with that.
And you know, as kids, I mean, I grew up as a poor kid. You don't know you're poor when you're a kid. You just know what you know.
Sure.
So we had a lot of bologna. A lot of bologna.
Did you?
Yeah, and bologna would normally come in the Oscar Mayer sealed pack.
Yeah, sure.
Where, like Spam, you open Spam, there's a particular sound that'll never go away. It causes post-traumatic stress disorder in some people. And the Oscar Mayer bologna, when you unseal it, sounds like a sick bowl of Tupperware. So I assume you experienced it at one point or another.
You know, I have not had bologna since I was 3 years old.
I don't think I've had it for a very long time. Fried bologna, of course, is a regular thing that people still do.
My wife will tell you great stories about her childhood where she loved, that was her favorite thing to eat when she was a kid.
Your tiny wife ate bologna?
Yeah. 5 pounds a day.
It's incredible.
Yep. 6 on her birthday.
I hold in my hand the recipe for bologna cake.
A bologna cake sounds awful.
This sounds like a birthday present for the kid that was misbehaving. The dish layers bologna with a mixture of cream cheese.
Yeah.
Worcestershire sauce. And onions. The entire outside is frosted with canned cheese, like a cheese whiz. And you could substitute with other cheese mixtures. And eventually you will have a bologna cake. Now,
and people would eat that on purpose.
Yeah, it seems like it's accidental, but they would eat it on purpose, bologna cake. So I believe if you gave this to the people at Guantanamo, we could empty the place.
Everything would be fine.
Everybody'd talk and we'd be all done.
Anything but politics, Steve. You know the rules. I
keep violating my own rules, don't I?
You can't break the rules.
Which brings us to our final category. Bill, would you like to choose tennis biggest jerks?
I'm going to go with tennis biggest jerks.
Before we start the category, explain your love for the game. How long have you played?
I've been playing since I was a kid. I enjoyed it very much.
Did you play were you a high school tennis player?
I played in high school, yeah.
Okay. How about
then
college?
I went to a college that didn't have a team, so I didn't play for them.
How about intramurals?
No, they wouldn't have me.
Okay. But you're a good player. I know you're a good player.
I'm a pretty good player. Now,
in golf, my sport, you're rated according to your handicap, which of course is cruelly accurate. But in tennis, there's a way to rate players. Mm-hmm. And is it a 1 to 5?
Yeah, I'm a 4.0 player.
And a 4.0, that's a high level amateur.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
If I was just a whole lot better, I could play professionally, but I'm not.
I tell people that all the time. I mean, the only thing between me and the PGA Tour, or now the Senior Tour, is 20 shots and cursing.
That's it. That's the only difference.
Yeah.
Now, Steve, with me, what sets me apart from your other tennis players is I'm ambidextrous, so I play both left-handed and right-handed. I have 2 forehands. I use my backhand sparingly, but I almost hit everything forehand.
So you can get into position depending on where the ball is and have no issues because you can play off both hands.
It only buys you an extra half second, but you'd be surprised what that half second would do.
Okay, now this is a weird thing, and tell me if I'm crazy. I would think that's less important in pickleball.
It is less important in pickleball.
Yeah. Have you played pickleball?
Only once. I'm not a fan.
Are you a tennis snob about it?
I am.
Okay, good. I just want to check. When I say tennis jerks, people who grew up on tennis, when we were kids, tennis was a gigantic game.
Yeah, it was.
People loved it. You had your rivalries, the women's side and the men's side.
Yeah.
And you had your McEnroe.
Yeah.
And McEnroe, of course, the famous "you cannot be serious" tirade. That's what everybody goes to with tennis jerks.
Right.
But there are many other scandals in tennis that people don't talk about as much. And here's one I didn't even know about.
Who's that?
Andre Agassi, who I thought was a great guy.
Yeah, he seemed to be.
Andre Agassi, in the late 90s, as his career was really peaking, failed a drug test for crystal meth.
Oh, no.
He claimed his drink was spiked. He managed to get off with a warning. And as he choked back tears, he was suspended for a brief period of time. Tennis is a hard game to play. Back when I had both good knees, I played a bit, never at your level. Yeah. But I don't think you could play under the influence of crystal meth. So I don't know how that would help him.
It would make it difficult because you really need to have all your senses tuned properly for a good match. But I don't know. He was married to Brooke Shields too, by the way.
Yeah. And boy, don't get me started on her. I mean, look, we had our time together, but
I know you did.
Could she stop calling? Huh? Please. When we came up, Jimmy Connors was probably considered a jerk, but was he a jerk or was it gamesmanship? Because he was very good at getting in Connors' head and other players' heads.
I think he was just so competitive that it made sense for him to mess with his opponents, and it paid off. The guy that I always think of, I hope you'll remember this guy, Ilie Nastase.
Yeah, nasty.
Nasty, as he was commonly referred to. He had quite the temper, and I don't think I ever saw a match that he didn't go off on somebody.
And he wasn't he the all-time leader in broken rackets?
Yeah, he broke a whole bunch of rackets.
Now the players get the rackets for free.
They give them to him, yeah.
You run the risk of injury,
Right.
You're going through a thing with your hand now. You've got a hand injury.
Yeah.
But it doesn't seem like breaking rackets is a healthy idea.
It's tricky, Steve. When you play, and I don't know if you've had this with golf, but you try to get somebody to sponsor you, try to get somebody to watch you, a major tennis, and I got the people over at Fisher-Price were very big fans of my work. So they gave me the Fisher-Price racket, and I used that one.
It's great. And it's musical, right? If you hit it.
Yeah. Plays Mary Had a Little Lamb.
Which was recorded from me in the closet with my saxophone. Just all comes full circle. But here's a guy that people don't talk about much who really seems like a dick.
Yeah.
Nick Kyrgios.
Yeah, Nick Kyrgios. I knew you were going to say him. I knew that was coming. Yeah, he just only seems to care about himself.
He was in a match against a player named Casper Ruud, who I don't know. Kyrgios swore at a line judge and then kicked a water bottle and threw a chair onto the court. All three warnings resulted in him defaulting in the match, which he's had several times. He's had untold amounts of fines, but he was playing in something called the Rogers Cup. I know the Davis Cup. I don't know what the Rogers Cup is.
It's a pretty big tennis tournament.
So he's playing in the Rogers Cup, and he was playing against Stan Wawrinka.
Yeah.
And lost it. And he went up to the net and screamed at him. Kokkinakis, another player. Kokkinakis, maybe? Kokkinakis, or is that a medical issue, a Kokkinakis? Kokkinakis banged your girlfriend. Sorry to tell you now, mate, but I thought you should know.
That's below the line.
And on the women's side, was there anybody that approached that level? I mean, Martina could be tough, but the women were much better behaved, right?
People used to get on Monica Seles because she would grunt between shots.
Yeah, she started that, right?
Yeah, she invented grunting on shots. But people would get on her for that. But no, the temper seems to be, not that there wasn't an occasional instance or two of women getting off on being angry, but for the guys, it was commonplace. They were very competitive, Steve. It's a very competitive game.
So where would you rank McEnroe in the all-time greats? Is he top 10?
Well, top 10 for sure, yeah. And I have to say, I don't know if you've ever met him or interviewed him.
I have.
Met him and interviewed him. He's a really nice man.
And he's also very funny.
Yeah, he is, isn't he?
Yeah, very funny and self-deprecating.
He's the best tennis announcer I've ever heard.
I totally agree.
Because he gives you the insight of a player, but he's very fair and very honest. He's really good.
Doesn't hold back. Doesn't play nice.
Nope. I like him. His brother's good too.
Patrick McEnroe.
Patrick McEnroe.
Yeah. Of the ones we haven't mentioned, is Borg top 10?
I don't know that I'd put him in top 10, top 20 for sure, but maybe not top 10.
Who's the best ever?
Oh, boy.
Or top 2?
I would say
Like
Roger
when we have these
Federer.
conversations about stand-up comics, we always go to the same 3, and that's Pryor, Carlin, and Bill Cosby.
Gallagher.
Gallagher's brother. Bill Cosby, who inarguably was a great stand-up, even though he's a horrible, nightmarish human being, we now know.
Yeah.
But Cosby, Carlin, Pryor, most guys will tell you that's their top 3.
Yeah.
But give me your top, like if I said top 5, give me a couple of your top 5.
I'll go right to the top because they're all, the top 10 to the top 15 or 20 are all kind of fluid. You could move them up and down. But for me, I think Roger Federer on his best days,
Sure.
you just couldn't touch him. He just did everything right. He didn't make any mistakes. And he kept so cool. You know, you'd watch him and you go, how do you keep that cool with all the pressure on you? He just did it. He just delivered every time.
Djokovic?
Djokovic's up there, no question.
Yeah.
Yeah. Those guys just, there's good and then there's real good and then there's a level that we just can't understand where it's just automatic. You're just doing whatever you want every time.
That's pretty cool. Wimbledon, of course, is coming up. I understand you're going in unranked, but I've got my money on you.
Thank you, sir. That's very kind of you.
Hoping you're going to be seated. And I hope you enjoyed our little knock around here called Anything But Politics.
Steve, I enjoyed it. And if I can ask you, you earlier were selling shirts, and I hope that you've sold some shirts because they're handsome shirts and the hats are fantastic. Can I just sell? There's something I'm working on. Can I just sell that?
Sure. What do you got? What do you got?
All right. So starting Wednesday in most Raggedy Ann stores, Bill Leff grapefruits. I don't know if you can see these.
Oh, that's
these
fantastic.
are the finest grapefruits that money can buy. So we've got mottos in Raggedy Ann stores are already signed up. So when you're in the produce aisle and you're looking for grapefruit, Bill Leff grapefruits are the ones for you.
Ask for them by name.
Yeah.
Will you autograph them, sign them, maybe do a...
I've already signed them all. They're all signed. They come pre-signed.
So if you see a guy in a cap in a store with a Sharpie writing on the fruit, that's you?
That's me.
Okay. It's my friend Bill Leff.
They're tangy.
Yes. Thank you. And by the way, if you mention Bill's name when you order at survive25.us, I'll send you grapefruit.
Oh, my God.
That's one way of putting it. Thank you, buddy.
Thank you, Steve.